Daniel turned 21, standing in his parents' hallway, holding a jacket he didn't remember grabbing. The clock above the door ticked too loud, each second sharp and final. The cake candles in the kitchen were still smoking, thin grey, lines curling toward the ceiling. Someone had sung to him minutes ago. Now the house felt like it had already forgotten his name. His father stood near the door, arms crossed, face calm in a way that scared Daniel more than anger ever could. This was a decision made long before today. His mother hovered behind, fingers tight around a dish towel, eyes fixed on a spot just over Daniel's shoulder, as if looking directly at him might undo what was happening. "You're grown now," his father said. The words were smooth, practiced. "This is the best time for you to learn how the real world works." Daniel waited for the rest. An explanation. A joke that went too far. Anything. Nothing came. He thought of the gifts on the table. Socks. A book. A cheap watch. All signs of care. Placed there like props in a play that ended early. His chest felt hollow, like the air had been pulled out of him too fast. "I have work tomorrow," Daniel said without thinking. He didn't know why he said it. Maybe he believed responsibility could save him. His father nodded once. Then, "You'll figure it out." The words landed harder than a shout. Figure it out. Daniel had been doing that for years already. 2 jobs. Long nights. Early classes. He paid for his own phone. His own clothes. He gave most of his paychecks to his parents because they told him it was safer that way. Smarter. A family system. He believed them because they were his parents. Because trust felt natural. His mother finally spoke. "We didn't raise you to be weak." Daniel looked at her then. Her face was tight, pulled thin by worry and pride. In her mind, this wasn't cruelty. It was teaching. Love shaped like a shove. He nodded. Once. He didn't argue. He didn't beg. Something inside him locked itself shut, like a door slamming quietly. He stepped outside. Cold air rushed in, biting his skin. The door closed behind him. Not slammed. Closed carefully, as if to avoid damage. The sound echoed anyway. Daniel stood on the porch for a second longer than needed. He looked at the house. The windows glowed warm and yellow. Laughter started again inside. Softer now. Cautious. Like they weren't sure if they were allowed to feel relief yet. He walked. The streetlights blurred as he moved, hands deep in his jacket pockets. His phone buzzed. A birthday message from a coworker. He didn't open it. His mind replayed the moment over and over, searching for a hidden meaning, a test he had failed without knowing. He reached the bus stop and sat. The bench was cold metal. His breath fogged the air. For the first time, fear crept in. Not loud, not sharp, just heavy. Where would he sleep? How long could he last? He ran through numbers in his head, trying to build safety out of math. A memory surfaced without warning. His father at the kitchen table years ago, tapping a bank form with a pen. "We'll manage your money together," he had said. "You're young. We know how these things work." Daniel had signed. Proud, grateful, believing this was what families did. The bus arrived. He got on without knowing where it would take him. The city passed by in pieces, closed shops, empty sidewalks, windows lit with other people's lives. Each stop felt like a choice he wasn't ready to make. He got off near a friend's place and walked the rest of the way. His legs ached. His head buzzed. When his friend opened the door, surprised but kind, Daniel smiled like everything was fine. He asked if he could crash for the night. Just one night. Lying on the couch later, staring at the ceiling, Daniel finally let the truth settle. This wasn't about space or lessons. This was about control. About being useful until he wasn't. His parents hadn't pushed him out in anger. They had done it cleanly, confidently, believing they were right. That belief hurt more than the action itself. He thought about calling someone. An aunt. A cousin. Anyone. He imagined their shock, their anger on his behalf, the comfort it might bring. Then he imagined his parents' faces if they found out he had spoken. Defensive. Offended. Certain they were the victims of misunderstanding. Daniel turned on his side and stared at the wall. He decided then to stay quiet. Not because he was weak. Because he wanted to understand. Because something told him that words, right now, would be wasted. That the truth was hidden somewhere deeper, waiting to be uncovered. Sleep came slowly. When morning arrived, Daniel woke with a strange calm. The fear was still there, but it had shape now. Direction. He checked his phone. Messages from work, from school. Life continuing, unaware of the shift that had just happened. He stood, folded the blanket, and thanked his friend. Outside, the sun was pale and sharp. A new day. His birthday had ended with a closed door, but the world hadn't stopped turning. As Daniel walked toward the bus stop again, one thought followed him, steady and clear. If his parents believed this was justified, then the truth would have to be stronger than anger. And someday, somehow, the truth would speak for him. Daniel's days turned sharp and narrow after that night. Morning meant work. Afternoon meant class. Night meant silence. He slept on a couch that wasn't his, and woke before the alarm, so he wouldn't be a burden. Every step he took felt measured. Like one mistake could send everything crashing down. Still, he moved forward, because stopping meant thinking, and thinking hurt. One afternoon his landlord asked for bank details so rent could be scheduled. Daniel nodded, confident enough. He had money. He always had. His paychecks had been steady. His savings, managed through the family account, were meant to protect him. That belief followed him into a quiet corner of the library where he opened his banking app. The screen took a second too long to load. The number that appeared made no sense. Daniel blinked, then refreshed. The balance stayed the same. Low. Too low. His pulse picked up. He opened the transaction history. His fingers moved fast now, scrolling back through weeks, then months. Deposits appeared like clockwork. Paychecks, refunds, grants. Each one was followed by a withdrawal, sometimes the same day, sometimes the next. He stopped breathing without noticing. The labels were familiar. Household costs, repairs, emergency, funds. Vague words that explained everything and nothing. The amounts grew larger the further back he went. Money he remembered earning, saving, planning with, was gone. Daniel leaned back in his chair. The library noise faded into a distant hum. A full story formed in his head, piece by piece. His parents hadn't just pushed him out. They had prepared. They had taken what they believed was theirs before cutting him loose. Anger came, but it was cold. It didn't shake his hands. It focused them. He didn't call them. He didn't message. He closed the app and sat there, letting the truth settle. This was not a mistake. It was a system, one built on trust and silence. That night, on the couch, Daniel replayed every conversation he'd had about money. His father's calm tone, his mother's warnings about waste, the way they praised him for being responsible while quietly draining the account. The realization hurt, but it also cleared something inside him. He finally saw the shape of the betrayal. The next morning, he went to work early and stayed late. He picked up extra shifts. He moved with purpose now. Each hour was a brick, each paycheck his own. For the first time, his effort belonged only to him. In the evenings, he returned to the library, not to escape but to learn. He read about accounts, statements, access rights. He printed records when he could, screenshots when he couldn't. He organized everything by date, amount, and source. No emotion, just facts. As the evidence grew, so did the weight inside him. Some nights, doubt crept in. Maybe they needed it. Maybe he owed them. He imagined their voices, their reasons, the long list of things they had paid for when he was younger. Food, shelter, love. Then he looked at the numbers again. The withdrawals didn't stop when things were hard. They increased when his income rose. The better he did, the more they took. That pattern silenced his doubt. Daniel began to understand the deeper wound. It wasn't just about money. It was about being seen as a resource instead of a person. About being taught that loyalty meant obedience and trust meant blindness. His desire for revenge didn't explode. It formed slowly, like pressure building behind glass. He didn't want to shame them publicly. He didn't want to scream. He wanted them to face the truth they had hidden behind good intentions. But, even as the plan took shape, his conscience pushed back. They were his parents. He remembered his mother staying up late to help him study. His father teaching him to ride a bike. These memories tangled with the evidence in his hands, pulling him in opposite directions. He asked himself hard questions while walking home at night. Was exposing them cruelty? Or was silence just another way of letting harm continue? If he stayed quiet, what lesson did that teach? That betrayal had no cost. Sleep came in short pieces. Dreams were filled with doors closing and numbers fading off screens. Still, he woke each day and kept going. Weeks passed. Daniel opened a new account under his own name. His first paycheck went in. The balance was small, but it was honest. He felt a strange pride looking at it. This money couldn't be touched without his permission. One evening, a message appeared on his phone. His mother. Simple, casual. Asking how he was. Saying she hoped he was learning a lot. No apology. No question about his safety. Daniel stared at the screen. His thumb hovered over the reply field. He could confront her now. He could send screenshots. He could tear the silence apart. He locked the phone instead. Not yet. He knew now that timing mattered. Words spoken too early would be dismissed. Emotions would cloud the truth. He needed clarity. He needed control. As winter set in, Daniel's plan sharpened. Not a dramatic strike. Not a public scene. Just a moment where facts would speak louder than feelings. Where no one could deny what was done. Still, the question followed him everywhere. Would this bring peace? Or only prove how far he'd been pushed? On a quiet night, alone in his room, Daniel laid the documents out on the bed. Neat stacks. Clear lines. A story told in numbers. He felt the pull of revenge and the weight of restraint collide in his chest. He sat there for a long time, breathing slow, understanding something important. Revenge wasn't about hurting them. It was about refusing to be erased. And when the time came, he would choose his move carefully, because once the truth was revealed, nothing between them would ever be the same. The invitation arrived on a quiet morning, soft words hiding sharp edges. Dinner. His parents wanted to see him. No mention of the past. No apology. Just a warm message that felt borrowed from a better life. Daniel read it twice then. Set the phone down. His chest tightened, not with fear, but with clarity. This was the moment he had been circling for months. He spent the day working without mistakes, moving fast, focused. Every task felt lighter now that the path ahead was clear. When evening came, he went home and opened the drawer under his bed. Inside was the folder. Clean, organized. Bank statements stacked in order. Dates highlighted. Amounts circled. Nothing extra. Nothing emotional. Just truth. He dressed simply. No effort to impress. No effort to protect. As he left, he felt the old pull of doubt try to slow him down. These were his parents. Blood. History. But another thought followed stronger. Silence had already cost him enough. The house looked the same when he arrived. Lights on. Curtains drawn. Familiar. He stood at the door for a second longer than needed, breathing once, steady, then knocked. His mother opened the door with a practiced smile. She hugged him lightly, like he might break. His father stood behind her, nodding, already moving back toward the table. No anger. No guilt. Just comfort, like everything had settled into place. Dinner passed quickly. Talk stayed safe. Weather. Work. Old stories polished smooth with time. Daniel listened more than he spoke. He watched their faces, their hands, the way they avoided anything real. They believed this night was a bridge back to normal. When dessert was served, Daniel stood. The room shifted. His chair scraped the floor, loud in the quiet. His parents looked up, surprised. Concern flickered across his mother's face. His father's eyes narrowed slightly, sensing change. "I didn't come to argue," Daniel said. His voice was calm, almost distant. "I came to explain something." He placed the folder on the table and slid it forward. Neither of them touched it at first. His mother opened it slowly. Her eyes moved across the pages, scanning, then stopping. Her breath caught. She flipped to the next sheet, then the next. Confusion gave way to shock. Her hands began to shake. His father leaned in, his jaw tightening with every page. The color drained from his face, replaced by something harder. Defensiveness. Calculation. Daniel stayed standing. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse. He let the silence stretch, heavy and honest. "You took my money," he said simply. "For months, you took it, then told me to leave." His father straightened. "We needed help," he said. "Families help each other. You lived under our roof for years." Daniel nodded once. "I worked. I studied. I trusted you. You didn't ask. You didn't tell me. You planned it." His mother looked up at him, eyes wet. "We thought you'd be fine," she whispered. "You're strong." The word cut deeper than blame. Strength, in their mouths, meant endurance without complaint. It meant taking pain quietly. "I didn't tell anyone," Daniel continued. "No family. No bank. I didn't come to shame you. I just needed you to see what I saw." His father's voice rose. "So what is this? A threat?" Daniel shook his head. "No. It's a line." He closed the folder and pulled it back toward himself. "I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for excuses. I'm telling you that I know. And I won't let it happen again." The room filled with tension, thick and pressing. His mother reached for his hand, but he stepped back. "I needed you to understand something," Daniel said. "You didn't teach me responsibility that night. You taught me who I was to you." His father looked away first. Daniel picked up the folder and turned toward the door. His heart pounded now, fast and loud, but his steps were steady. Every instinct screamed for him to stay, to argue, to demand something in return. He ignored it. Behind him, his mother spoke his name, soft and breaking. He paused just for a moment, then kept walking. Outside, the air was cool and clean. The house behind him stayed quiet. No shouting, no chasing footsteps. Just stillness. As he walked down the street, his hands trembled. The weight he had carried for months began to loosen. Not disappear. Just shift. He had faced them. He had spoken without shouting. He had chosen truth over destruction. Part of him wondered if he should have gone further, asked for repayment, forced accountability. Another part knew that would have tied him to them in a way he no longer wanted. He reached the bus stop and sat, breathing slow. The city moved around him, unaware of the line he had crossed. For the first time since his birthday, Daniel felt something close to peace. Not happiness, not forgiveness, just the relief of standing upright, of no longer bending to keep others comfortable. He understood then that revenge didn't have to end in fire. Sometimes it ended in clarity, and that clarity, once spoken, could never be taken back. Daniel did not return home that night, with anger chasing him. He walked through the city until his legs ached, letting the cold air clear his head. The house he left behind stayed silent in his mind. Not loud or haunting, just finished. For the first time, he felt the past loosen its grip. Days passed without messages. Then his phone rang. His mother's name lit the screen. He watched it until it stopped. A second call came later. He didn't answer that either. Silence, once forced on him, was now his choice. Life moved forward quickly. Work filled his hours. Classes demanded focus. He paid rent on time. He cooked. Simple meals. Each small act built something solid under his feet. He opened his banking app often, not out of fear, but pride. The balance was modest, but every dollar had a clear path. Nothing hidden, nothing taken. One evening, a long message arrived. His mother had written it. Apologies sat between excuses. Regret tangled with self-defense. She said they never meant to hurt him. She said they believed he would understand one day. She said family should forgive. Daniel read the message twice. He felt no rush to reply. The words stirred sadness, not rage. He saw her fear now. The fear of losing control, of facing mistakes too large to undo. His father sent a message days later. Short, direct. He admitted nothing. He asked to move on. Daniel understood then that closure would not come from them. It would come from his own choices. He replied once. Brief. Calm. He thanked them for raising him. He told them he needed distance. He said trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. He wished them well. Nothing more. After that, the messages slowed, then stopped. Weeks turned into months. Daniel moved to a better apartment. He saved. He planned. He slept without tension curling in his chest. Some nights, memories returned, but they no longer held power. They were lessons now, not wounds. He noticed changes in himself. He spoke up at work. He asked questions. He protected his boundaries without apology. The boy who once handed over his paychecks without doubt was gone. One afternoon, while reviewing his finances, Daniel printed his latest bank statement. He held the paper in his hands and smiled. The numbers were simple, honest. They reflected effort, not loss. He realized then what his quiet revenge had given him. Not punishment, freedom. He didn't expose his parents. He didn't demand repayment. He didn't tear the family apart publicly. He let the truth exist, unchanged and undeniable. That truth reshaped the relationship without him needing to strike back. Sometimes, he wondered if things could have gone differently. If he had spoken sooner, if he had trusted less. Those thoughts passed. Regret was a heavy thing, and he refused to carry it. One day, he ran into an old neighbor who asked about his parents. Daniel answered politely, briefly. He didn't explain. He didn't lie. He simply said he was doing well, and he meant it. On his next birthday, Daniel woke early and made coffee. Sunlight filled the room. No cake. No candles. Just peace. He looked around at the life he had built from the ground up and felt proud. He understood now that revenge had many faces. The one he chose did not burn or destroy. It stood still and refused to be used again, by letting the bank statements speak. Daniel reclaimed more than money. He reclaimed his voice, his trust in himself, and his future. The door that once closed behind him no longer mattered. He had already walked far beyond it.